The Brazilian Grand Prix is always one of the liveliest of the season, and massive crowds have descended on the Interlagos circuit in Sao Paulo to cheer on their local hero, Rubens Barrichello. Hello there, welcome to the highlights of this afternoon's race. Now, we've had a very unusual event here, the withdrawal of the Sauber team from the Grand Prix following a series of rear wing failures. Sauber failed to cure the problem, so Brazilian Pedro Diniz and Mika Salo were just spectators.
I think it's a very brave decision from Peter, but I think also it's right decision. We obviously have a problem with the wings, and it's not safe to continue. So I was lucky this morning not to hurt myself at all, and maybe next time we're not so lucky, because obviously there's still something wrong. It wasn't just one-off because it happened again. So it's brave decision, but right one.
Qualifying produces one of the strangest sessions for years. The McLarens of Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard post quickest laps, with Rubens Barrichello close behind. Michael Schumacher goes well after an early spin, but saves some laps for a later effort. He doesn't get the chance though. The session is stopped 3 times because of collapsing trackside hoardings. And then it rains. Ferrari are denied the chance of an assault on pole, and it's an all-silver front row for the second race in succession. And so Mika Häkkinen's 23rd career pole with David Coulthard alongside. The Ferraris of Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello right behind them. Impressive 5th for Fisichella in the Benetton, followed by Eddie Irvine and Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Ricardo Zonta's gone well at home, then it's Jenson Button, the top Williams man, in 9th. Ralf Schumacher rounds out the top 10, then it's Trulli, Wirtz, Verstappen and Alesi 15th. Pedro de la Rosa ahead of a disappointed Johnny Herbert, Marc Genet and Nick Heidfeld in the second Prost. The Minardis of Mazzacani starts last, but only 20 cars go due to those Sauber early bars. It's the Brazilian Grand Prix then, with your commentators Martin Brundle and Murray Walker.
72 laps. It's going to be a long, very hard, very hot race.
You saw all the yellow lines across the track where the cars have been bottoming out there. The shot before this one, and it's really pounding the drivers.
Someone coming into the pit lane, Martin, on the right. Didn't see who it was, quite possibly Wirtz, because he's been having problems all today and all through the practice period. It is Alexander Wirtz into the pit lane. Whether or not he'll be able to start from the pit lane. 2 lights, 3, and the Brazilian Grand Prix is go. Nice one, Häkkinen. Schumacher gets ahead of Coulthard. Schumacher attacking in the first corner, and Schumacher goes to Mika Häkkinen, and Barrichello is still behind David Coulthard, and Eddie Irvine is up into 5th position. Beautiful start by Eddie Irvine, gets ahead of Fisichella, up into the 5th position as they come down the straight. This is where Schumacher will attack as they come down into late descent. Häkkinen is having nothing of it. It's still McLaren Ferrari. They've all got round the first part of the lap unscathed, and Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar holds on to 5th position.
Yes, David Coulthard bogged down on the start line, got away poorly. That gave Michael Schumacher an easy run. Wirtz does start the race. I think he's not understood the regulations there, came into the pit lane. But Michael Schumacher looking particularly aggressive and menacing in the early stages. Eddie Irvine got a good start, had an enormous slide in turn 3, collected it all together, and they're in a strong 5th position. Jenson Button has dropped down a little bit to 12th place.
Well, that's not surprising. He's gone down from 9th to 12th. The first start with the pack, and there he is ahead of the arrows of Jos Verstappen, as coming through to complete the first lap out of 72. It's the 2 rivals again, as ever, and Schumacher's going for it.
He'll get it.
He's going to get
Schumacher
through on
will
the
do
inside. He'll get through, and Schumacher leads. Michael Schumacher attacks and gets through. Now the Ferrari is handling beautifully here.
And Barrichello too. Sorry, Murray. Barrichello passing Coulthard too.
Absolutely. The 2 McLarens have each been passed by their equivalents in the Ferrari team. And if Michael Schumacher can get ahead here, he's obviously going to be in a tremendously strong position. It's still Eddie Irvine in 5th, but look at the gap that's developing between Irvine in the green Jaguar and Fisichella in the blue Benetton. Well, Michael Schumacher is in a real up-and-at-it mood, attacking right from the beginning into turn 1 on the first corner. And now he's starting to stretch his lead. Now, is this an indication of how nimble the Ferrari is, or is it possibly an indication of the fact that he's on a lighter fuel load?
Could be. We'll have to see how that one shakes out. But Michael said he didn't care about being in third, and well, he's certainly proven that to be the case, hasn't he? Passed Coulthard off the line, and then really Hakkinen couldn't place his car anywhere that would stop Michael Schumacher with a good slingshot, a good toe coming up the inside. Hakkinen probably should have defended on the left and made Michael go the long way round. I just knew Michael somehow was going to pass that McLaren under braking, and look at the way he's scampering away. It's
2 seconds lead, and out is going one of the course cars.
It was the health car, wasn't it? But I think he positions himself down at the bottom of the hill somewhere, so I don't think that Mercedes estate car is going to come onto the racetrack.
Well, this is here's a replay of Michael Schumacher at late descent on the previous lap, diving through on the inside of Mika Hakkinen, and you're a brave, determined man who can do that. Because Mika Hakkinen is right on top of his form this season. He showed us that while he was going in Australia, only to retire, as did his teammate David Coulthard. And of course, as a result of Ferrari finishing first and second at Melbourne, they're leading the Constructors' Championship with 16 points, and McLaren have yet to score. So it's absolutely vital to the Woking team, who've been trying so hard and got such a superb Adrian Newey designed car, that they get to grips with the Ferraris. So Eddie Irvine there, Jaguar still in 5th position. Now look back, there's Fisichella. Behind Fisichella, it's Frentzen and Trulli. Behind Trulli is Zonta. He's ahead of his teammate Jacques Villeneuve. So the BARs are going extremely well. They qualified in 8th and 11th places, with Zonta ahead of his teammate Jacques Villeneuve. And there is Rubens Barrichello into the Senna S as Ron Dennis watches.
Yes, and to keep you up to speed on... now this is Michael, look, getting in the slipstream, and... No, this must be Barrichello when he passed Coulthard. Yeah, when it was out of our shot initially, Coulthard does try to defend the inside line. The Ferrari's just got too much straight line speed for him.
Let me give you a little identification tip. Look at the top of Barrichello's helmet. His helmet is very like Schumacher's, except that it has a star right at the top of it. So that should give us an identification to help. So Michael Schumacher in the lead now by an incredible 3.4 seconds on lap 4 out of 72. Now you watch Barrichello and Hakkinen in 3rd and 2nd places. Here are the top 10 on lap 5 out of 72. Schumacher now leading by an amazing 4 seconds. Mika Hakkinen 2nd, Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard. There they are. Coulthard in 4th position, Barrichello in 3rd place. Eddie Irvine is 3 seconds behind Coulthard in 5th position, and ahead of Fisichella by 2 seconds. Jarno Trulli is 7th, Frentzen is 8th, Jos Verstappen in the arrows, a magnificent 9th, and Barrichello is again showing his nose to the McLaren in front of him.
And is this a position change?
Yeah, that's the Jordan going ahead of Fisichella. That's Jarno Trulli going up to 6th position by passing Fisichella in the Benetton. Now, we haven't really talked very much about tyres. Bridgestone, as ever, have got 2 compounds here, a medium one and a softer one. And if the circuit had been damp, it might just about have favoured the people on the softer compound, including David Coulthard. That is not the case. It is hot and it is dry. So the people on the harder tyres are going to benefit, and they include Michael Schumacher, Mika Hakkinen, the 2 Williams cars, which are pretty well down the field now. Michael Schumacher is the lead. Williams in Ralf Schumacher as Hakkinen in 2nd place, and
Michael Schumacher on that lap. Now Barrichello's got a sniff look, but down into turn 3 is very risky, I have to tell you. It's so bumpy on the way in. It's always been bumpy and slippery there, whatever surface they've had down. And Barrichello thinking better of it. Hakkinen defending the line well. Michael Schumacher virtually 2 seconds faster than anybody else on that last lap. Burt's has stopped out on the track somewhere. We saw some smoke coming out of the back of the car, so Alexander Wurtz's awful afternoon is now over.
There's the proof, and this will not be a meeting that Wurtz remembers with any affection. Well, Michael Schumacher, and you're watching Barrichello now. Michael Schumacher 11 seconds ahead of this battle. joined Ferrari in 1996 with the declared aim of helping the team back to
Heidfeld.
A blown engine there, and it's the Peugeot of Nick Heidfeld, who was down the field. He'd already been lapped. He was down in 19th position. So that's the second retirement. Wurz is out, Heidfeld is out. The two Saubers didn't start, so there are 18 cars and drivers left in the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we are now on lap 12 out of 72 with the man you're looking at, Michael Schumacher, a massive 12 seconds ahead of Mika Häkkinen. He's keeping up this searing pace and pulling away at the rate of 1 second a lap, and if only Barrichello could get past Häkkinen, there they are, I think he would ease away from the McLaren Mercedes too.
Is that a Lacey? That's a Lacey now out of the race. What a shame.
That means both the Prosts are out for an early bath. Michael Schumacher really on it, in a class of his own. He normally is in a race, but this performance of his today, I would equate at the present moment. As Barrichello is going for Häkkinen, is he? And he's through. Mika and Rubens Barrichello at last overcomes the opposition, and that is the response of Brazil. This is their Rubinho, and he's gone for it and he's succeeded. He has attacked and he has defeated Mika Häkkinen. Now, is that on a temporary basis, or is he going to make it stick?
Again, look, very nicely in the toe, and this time Mika didn't try to block him early enough. Ruben getting an easy and straightforward run down the inside, and was even able to move to the right as he wanted to turn in. Here he goes again. That's a good shot. You can see how hard the suspension of the cars is working, and look, he's far enough ahead to start taking a more normal line into the corner.
Well, the Ferraris are walking all over the McLarens, but let's be cautious. Let's be cautious and wait until round about lap 32 and see whether they come in then, because if they are, that's going to be an indication that they are on a two-stop rather than a one-stop strategy. And Villeneuve is out of the race. Jacques Villeneuve parked the VAR there. Villeneuve, who was in 4th position in Melbourne to score his first World Championship points for VAR, has got yet another depressing retirement. He's had a lot last year. This year, of course, they've got the Honda engine.
I think Michael, yes, Michael is in the pit lane. So, look, desperately trying to slow that car down to 80 Ks. James, tell us about it.
Well, the critical thing now is look how long the fuel hose is on for. If it's about 6 seconds, he's 3 stopping. If it's 8 seconds, he's 2 stopping. And if it's anything like 10, well, who knows what he's doing. He's putting fuel in, guys.
It looks like a two-stop.
Okay, so he's going to go quite long on this middle stint now. It's going to be very, very interesting in the middle part of this and the second half of this race.
Yeah.
Lap 21 then. Michael Schumacher exits the pit lane, and of course he has lost the lead. And there is Rubens Barrichello, who is now leading his own Brazilian Grand Prix here at Interlagos. The crowd is obviously ecstatic about it, but they probably don't realise what a crafty pit strategy the Ferrari team is running. Mika Häkkinen in very, very close proximity to Rubens Barrichello, by which I mean about 3 seconds. There he is in the background, is in 2nd position, but Michael Schumacher should have, and I'm not sure whether he did, regained the track in 3rd position ahead of David Coulthard. We'll soon know. And now Rubens Barrichello is being brought in.
Irvine is out of the race. He's stopped somewhere in the middle section. You're watching Barrichello about to flash left and past into that new pit entry. There's 3 lines there now. They've got to slow down by the second one of them, and Barrichello in. And that's both Grand Prix that he's driven for Ferrari. He's been in the lead of at some point or another, because he led for a while in Melbourne, didn't he? Just before he made his second stop, Michael let him through. And again, quite a lot of fuel going in, and a nice stop for Rubens. And up to 80 Ks, 50 miles an hour against quite a long pit lane. And there's a white line just after the dotted white line at the end. Then he can nail it.
Off spins Eddie Irvine.
Oh dear.
And loses his right front wheel.
Fell off rather easily, didn't it? But an impact there into the wall. Of course, Eddie just locking the rear wheels under braking and downshift, and put the opposite lock in, but couldn't stop the Jaguar from swapping ends. And as you saw, the resultant damage, clearly now we understand why Eddie Irvine is out of the race.
Rather more than 1/3 race distance completed at Interlagos, where on lap 26 out of 72, the third race leader, Mika Häkkinen, is out on his own, but he has stopped. It's 71 laps, incidentally, and Mika Häkkinen leads by 9.2 seconds, and he's actually getting quicker and quicker. He's within 3/10 of Michael Schumacher's fastest lap. Schumacher second, Coulthard third, Barrichello, Trulli and Verstappen.
Watch Häkkinen's head. Look, resting it on the... whether he's resting it or whether the neck muscles have gone already, but he's doing some pretty stunning lap times. Maybe Mika's just saving his neck for later on in the race, but already is struggling a little bit in those left-handers. But Jenson Button is in 11th place, and really once again matching Ralf Schumacher for pace, who's currently just ahead of him in 10th. They're chasing down Zonta.
Yeah, and they're both, as you rightly point out, catching the Brazilian, who is in 9th place, and actually Button is catching Schumacher. It's a very close-run thing between the two BMW Williams in 10th and 11th places, and a puff of smoke from the back of the Ferrari there. Rubens Barrichello slowing down, and it looks as though he's out of the race. He is out of the race. Lap 27, and Rubens Barrichello's engine has almost literally blown it.
Second Ferrari engine to go this weekend, and that obviously is Barrichello recovering to the pits. The car stopped smoking now for whatever reason, but I'm certain he's going to be out of the race, of course, and the main thing he's got to do is make sure they don't park in the pit garage if Michael has to come in a hurry, but in the pit box. But Rubens, look, undoing his James.
Yeah, he switched the engine off. There's a lot of smoke coming out of the back of the car. The Ferrari mechanics now have a problem, because obviously there's nowhere for them to put the car at the moment, because the garage is full of tyres and fuel rigs. So there's a big debate going on as to whether they're actually going to stick it and get it out of the racetrack, but an immense disappointment on the part of Rubens. It's really very, very unfortunate. By the way, guys, I've done a bit of maths here, and I reckon Michael's going to have to stop again on lap 52, which by my calculations is just after Häkkinen makes his one and only stop. So that's where it's all going to kick off, in that kind of period, around 45 to 52. Whoa, loads of smoke out of the back of Rubens' car. That doesn't smell very nice, I can tell you.
Well, there's a big problem with Zonta's car as you talk, James. They can't get the right front tyre and wheel on properly, and the nuts are locked. But the lollipop goes out of the way, but Zonta is still there. Has he stalled the engine? But up front, Mika Häkkinen is pulling away from Michael Schumacher. I don't know whether Schumacher's got a problem, but Häkkinen is now 12 seconds in front of the Ferrari. There is the race leader, Mika Häkkinen, leading Michael Schumacher by 12 seconds, so he's increased his lead by 5 seconds. David Coulthard is about 4/10 of a second off Schumacher's pace, and 1.2 seconds slower than Mika Häkkinen, as the Ferrari mechanics look plaintively at the back of Barrichello's car. Obviously there was a momentary fire there because they've got the extinguisher out and they're mopping up the remains now. This is a replay of the fire extinguishers going on Rubens Barrichello's Ferrari and those two upward facing exhaust pipes.
But Häkkinen is the one making the speed, as you pointed out, Murray. Now 12.7 seconds up. Coulthard still struggling a bit on pace, but in a very solid third position. Truly, we saw stopping a 9.5 second stop. He's on a two-stopper now. So if these McLarens are one-stopping, they're actually looking in pretty good shape at the moment. It's turned around quite quickly, hasn't it?
And they're certainly looking good as far as the Constructors' Championship is concerned. As there's the fuel flap there of the Ferrari has come undone. But McLaren, if they keep going, of course, they're going to close up on Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship a bit, because they're going to both be in the points, assuming they both finish. And they're slowing right down. Well, into the pit lane comes the race leader.
Yes, Häkkinen.
Mika Häkkinen. Now he's got to hit that limiter and slow down to 80 kilometres an hour.
I don't think he had much slowing down to do, Murray. He's got a problem. He came out of Juncao quite slowly, I thought, and on a bit of a strange line. And look, they're not ready for him, but I think his engine is dead anyway. I suspect he'll swing that straight in the pit garage, and he does.
Well, for the second race in succession, Mika Häkkinen fails to score a point, and back into the race lead goes Michael Schumacher, with now David Coulthard in second position, but a long way behind the Ferrari. And Jos Verstappen moves up into
fourth.
What if Jos Verstappen is going to be in fourth position, conceivably very shortly in third now. Out of the race, there is Häkkinen, visor up.
You're right.
Not a happy man.
You're right, Verstappen's third, Murray. That's going to put young Jensen up into ninth place as well.
Yeah, let's quickly run through them. Lap 31 out of 72, top 10. Schumacher leads, David Coulthard is second. Jos Verstappen, superb in the Supertech powered arrows as Mika Häkkinen goes back into the garage. Jos Verstappen in third place, potentially on a podium. Fisichella fourth, Heinz-Harald Frentzen fifth, Jarno Trulli sixth, both Jordans then in the top 6 places. Seventh is Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams. Eighth is Pedro de la Rosa in the second Arrows. Great race for Arrows. Ninth position, Jenson Button. 10th, Johnny Herbert in the Jaguar. And news from James Allen.
Well, Murray, on what has been a really invigorating day for Grand Prix racing, very, very exciting and very unfortunate for Mika Häkkinen. He just came out onto the pit lane having parked his car up with the engine dead and waved to all the Brazilian fans who've been whistling at him, booing at him and throwing coins at him throughout the weekend. He was saying thank you very much and they cheered him. It was a fantastic moment.
Looking down the field, Frentzen obviously deciding to go for a one-stopper in that Jordan. That's put him ahead of Trulli, his teammate, and Trulli's pace not that spectacular actually in sixth. Ralf Schumacher seventh, and Delaran, somebody's engine, I'd imagine, an engine problem there. So only it's a Jordan. Is it a Jordan or a Minardi?
Yeah, it's Genet. It's Marc Genet in the Minardi out of the race from 11th position. Sorry for him, because Gustav Brunner had designed a very tiny motor car. But incidentally, Barrichello went out of the race with a hydraulic problem in the Ferrari.
I think Coulthard's got a gearbox problem of some sort, because let's listen to him if we get the engine noise. Yeah, he's not changing gear where you'd expect him to. He should have made at least 2 shifts up that hill already. And I noticed it on a slower corner earlier too. I suspect he's got some kind of problem in the lower gears, which won't be too helpful on the pit stop.
Lap 37 out of 72. You are watching the remorseless Michael Schumacher in the lead in the Ferrari. David Coulthard is edging up on him. The gap has come down from some 9 seconds to 7.6 seconds, in spite of the fact that Martin is hypothesising that Coulthard may have some sort of a gearbox problem. Jos Verstappen, who was a magnificent third in the Arrows, has come in and taken on more fuel and tyres and has dropped down. He's still running. That's Fisichella in third position in the Benetton, the man who is in 5th place in Australia. The revived Benetton team, which has now been bought by Renault and will become Renault in the year 2002. But it's a wonderful foundation for Flavio Briatore, their ex-boss, who's come back. So Fisichella in third position, Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Trulli in the 2 Jordans, 4th and 5th, have got ahead of Verstappen. So has Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams, who's now in the points, and Jenson Button is still just behind Schumacher. He's in 7th position as off goes the Arrows and regains the position. That's Jenson Button behind him. That was Jenson Button getting past Pedro de la Rosa. Well, it's all happening here, and there is Mike Coughlin again with the thumbs up, the double thumbs up, the technical director of Arrows. Out goes Pedro de la Rosa, who's obviously lost track places.
I think that will just be Zonta locking his left front on the way into Curve 1.
Look at this, Arno Trulli in 5th position. Then Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher in 6th position. Not very far behind Schumacher is Jenson Button, and Schumacher is attacking. Schumacher in the BMW Williams attacking the Jordan with its Mugen Honda engine in front of him, and trying to get an improvement on his points position. He's currently in 6th place for 1 World Championship point. And remember, he finished 3rd in Australia, and BMW came into Grand Prix racing after having been out of it so long, not expecting to do well in Australia, was stupefied and delighted, and they're doing jolly well here too.
Frentzen in for a pit stop from fourth position. And remember, I think it was the Williams BMW that went the longest, made the longest stint in Melbourne. I think they've got the biggest fuel tank in that Williams. Ralf Schumacher told a German journalist, "This is the best racing car I've ever driven." And I think when they get a bit more development on that engine, those Williams later in the season are going to be quite a force.
The blue flag's waving to the Minardi to tell the driver to move over and let Michael Schumacher through as we look at David Coulthard, and the gap has increased now. Schumacher is 10 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, and ahead of David Coulthard, and he's just lapped 1.6 seconds faster than the McLaren. I have to say that this is a terrible race for McLaren.
I don't think so yet, Murray. I think we have to wait and see. Hakkinen was going pretty strongly. They've both got to come in again yet. We saw Coulthard actually passing a car on that lap, so I think what Michael did there was, with a bit of clear air, just decided to put a couple of very swift ones in.
And here he is.
As that obviously must be for David Coulthard. And that's Schumacher in Mergullo coming up to climb the hill. The TV camera really loses the impact of just how steep that hill is there.
Coulthard bang on target for a one-stop strategy. He's on his 43rd lap. We expected him to come in round about lap 45. That's exactly what he's going to do. You can see the vortices streaming from the rear of Michael Schumacher's wing as into the pit lane comes David Coulthard, hits the speed limiter, slows down to 80 kilometres an hour, sees the black-clad McLaren mechanics in front of him, and I would expect him to complete this stop in about 8 or 9 seconds. Up goes the lollipop, out goes David Coulthard, and he will have retained his second place because Fisichella has yet to come through in the Benetton as I speak to you, and you watch Michael Schumacher on lap 44 out of 72, leading now by an increased margin, and a dramatically increased margin, but remember, he has still got to stop.
Yes, Fisichella was some 38 seconds behind Coulthard, so I think Coulthard will maintain that second position as Michael approaches the scrap for currently fourth, fifth and sixth, which is truly Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button. So Michael's about to lap the current point sitters.
Oh, did you get that? Jenson Button is in the points. He was in the points in Australia. He worked his way up from 21st on the grid to 4th in the race. He was holding a very secure-looking 6th position when his engine let go, and he is now in the points again.
Button making his stop. He was just about to experience his being lapped for the first time in a Grand Prix, and he's missed that by dent of going down the pit lane. Michael carrying on, of course, on the racetrack. They're a long, long way down, look, and it's quite easy to see his mechanics all dressed in white. So this will be the second pit stop of Jenson Button's Grand Prix career. It should be quite a long refuelling. Away nicely, no panic. He wasn't revving it. I mean, very, very calm.
Gigantically mature young man, Jenson Button, with just one season of Formula 3 racing behind him before he got this astounding promotion, and obviously very well deserved and worthy promotion to the Williams team in a contest with Bruno Junqueira, the Brazilian driver. Johnny Herbert accelerates out of the pit lane now. He was in 9th position. I think he will have lost it to Pedro de la Rosa.
This is Schumacher's second stop about to happen. He's got a 48-second lead. He's just pushing and having fun, really. I think he's just enjoying himself out there. But so plenty of time to drop into the pits, and providing there's no problems, of course, get out in front of Coulthard. Yes, and I think Coulthard's definitely got a gearbox problem, because also when he left the pits, he was revving it like crazy to try to get it away. But I may be wrong on that. His pace is reasonable, but he can't match Michael Schumacher. James.
Well, you know, Martin, Ferrari haven't won in Brazil for 10 years now. Alain Prost back in 1990, but it's certainly been a very long wait. If Michael can keep it going, he'll go to Imola with a 20-point lead over Hakkinen. 7.7 second stop, entirely according to plan. Very neat and tidy by the Ferrari crew. And you have to say, Martin, a fantastic strategy by Ross Brawn today. I mean, neither you nor I, when we were talking about it before, could see really anything other than long first one-stop races, long first stints. And it's just been absolutely tremendous. But I do think it was relying, a bit of a gamble by Ross, relying on the possibility McLaren would break.
And now finally Fisichella brings the Benetton in for what will not be a lot of fuel to take him the next 20 laps to the end of the race.
It needs not to be, because Jarno Trulli is 27 seconds behind him, and Fisichella, bearing in mind that he's had to slow down and now speed up again.
Michael Schumacher, when it all settled out and he rejoined the track after that second stop of his, had a 24.4 second lead over David Coulthard.
Well, this is Michael Schumacher for sure, and Johnny Herbert rolls into the pits. He's in 10th place, 4 places off a World Championship point. Well, this is now a motor racing demonstration of the very highest quality as you look down on the McLaren Mercedes of David Coulthard, the only one left in the race. 26 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, matching the German's race and lap times.
That's a Williams going slowly, isn't it? I think it's Ralph, isn't it?
I think
I think I saw the yellow and red on the helmet of Ralph, but that is Ralph, possibly Ralph Schumacher out of 6th place. I hope it wasn't Jensen out of 8th place, but I'm fairly certain it was Ralph's crash helmet.
Well, if you're right, and I think you are, that means to say that Verstappen will move back into the points and Button will be 1 place off the points. Jensen Button has yet to finish a Grand Prix now. What's this? Oh, this is Pedro de la Rosa retiring, or is he? No, he's kept it running.
He's just recovering, isn't he? Back onto the racetrack.
Recovering from a spin. 9th position, and he's sufficiently far ahead of Ricardo Zonta, who's 10th, to keep that place, provided he hasn't done any damage and got any muck in the side pods and overheat the engine.
He can stamp on the brakes and get rid of the gravel that's in the side pods, but this must be Trulli's second stop coming up. He's on a different strategy to his teammate Frentzen. That was just pure tiredness from De La Rosa, I would imagine, and just a silly mistake on the exit of Ferradura. Yes, it is Trulli coming in for that second stop. Jordan obviously deciding to put one driver on each of the 2 reasonable strategies.
So there goes Frentzen, Martin, through past Trulli into 4th position, but Trulli will retain the 5th position for the Jordan team, albeit losing 1 place for himself. Jordan look as though they're going to get both cars home. They had 2 very trivial things stop them in Australia from what was potentially going to be a great race: a broken exhaust pipe and a hydraulic problem. And what's going on here? This is Jensen Button diving through. Look at that, that's Jensen Button taking Jos Verstappen and moving into, he's in 7th position as Verstappen fights back. Well, Jensen's, there he goes again. Well, second Grand Prix for Jensen Button, and is he pushing? As you look through the visor into the eyes of Michael Schumacher, and if David Coulthard comes through, and Jean Todt, the Ferrari boss, watching the monitors on the pit lane, and that is Fisichella, who has got Coulthard sandwiched between him and Schumacher. So Schumacher leads, Coulthard second. You're looking at Fisichella in 3rd position. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has moved up into 4th place as a result of Trulli coming into the pits. Now, Trulli is still, as far as I know, ahead of Ralf Schumacher, who is just ahead of Jensen Button. So the BMW Williams cars are 6th and 7th as we see Fisichella go over the line. Now there's going to be another 15 seconds before Frentzen in 4th place, and then we'll keep you tuned on the remaining places. Lap 62 has Michael Schumacher got a problem because David Coulthard is slashing into his lead. It's come down from 18 seconds to 14 seconds, and Michael Schumacher seems to be doing a lot more than cruising. He looks visually as though he may be in trouble, and there are 10 laps to go, including the one he's on.
listen, a couple of very lazy downshifts again there into Ferradura. Michael lost 4 seconds to Coulthard on the last lap, and that's more than just cruising. He wouldn't allow Coulthard to get that much of a look at him. I don't think he would want to play games of, look, try and catch me, then I'll show you just how fast I am. And certainly his downshift pattern is very, very strange, as Michael. This lap is looking faster than the last one in a 1 minute 20.4. That's 6 seconds off the new lap record that he set earlier in the race, but accelerating away up the hill now.
As you see, 8 laps remaining, and Michael Schumacher provided he can keep doing what he is doing. Looks to me as though he is all right, but it's nip and tuck. Coulthard that you're watching, closing up on the Ferrari, but probably not fast enough. P1, place 1, 11.7 seconds ahead of David Coulthard is what the board says to him. And of course he's probably talking to his people on the pit lane through the radio in the Ferrari. But he is, I have to say, looking pretty good at the present moment. Because David Coulthard, as you watch Heinz-Harald Frentzen lock up in 4th position, and it really does look as though Michael Schumacher is going to make it 10 points in Brazil, as he made it 10 points in Australia, to increase his lead in the World Championship. Rubens Barrichello, out of the race of course, was second in Australia, and Ferrari are going to increase their Constructors' Championship lead as well. A copybook, magnificent race for Michael Schumacher, and yet another indication, proof of the incredible tactical skill of Ferrari technical director Ross Brawn, who's called it right yet again with another unique strategy which fooled all of us. And Schumacher makes the last climb at Interlagos and sets his sights in the Ferrari to cross the line at 180 miles an hour, and he does so. Michael Schumacher wins in Brazil. 2 races, 2 wins, 20 World Championship points. David Coulthard finishes 4.3 seconds behind him. An even closer finish between Ferrari and McLaren than last year. But last year it was a McLaren that won and a Ferrari second. This year the tables have been turned, and Michael Schumacher's confidence in the car himself and his championship chances have been more than underlined. David Coulthard then in second place. We just wait for Fisichella to come home and complete the podium. There he is. Fisichella finishes 3rd for Benetton. Great race for Ferrari, except for Barrichello, of course. Excellent race for Benetton.
Yes, Frentzen just 2.3 seconds behind at the end of the race. Not quite enough laps left for him to get up behind Fisichella. Ferrari mechanics, well, they're on a roll, aren't they? 2 wins from 2. That's already 26 points in the bag before we even head back into Europe.
But Michael Schumacher continues commandingly to lead the World Championship for drivers, and Ferrari do the same thing in the Constructors' World Championship.
Michael Schumacher's first victory for Ferrari in Brazil, a tactical triumph that underlines his status as World Championship favourite.
Everything worked very well. We made the improvements we were looking for to make starts very well, and we were able to prove. I catched 1 position and I was close to catch Häkkinen as well, so everything was just perfect.
I'm just disappointed because retiring in front of my public with a car that have a lot of record for its reliability, it's really bad news. But what can I say? I think the public is happy just for the when I was on the track I was doing okay. So a bit of a mixed emotions for Michael and Ferrari and for myself.
I lost my radio and also 3rd gear very early on in the race, so I made it, as you can imagine, in the infield very difficult to go through there in 4th. And it also meant I couldn't relay that information to the team. I just thought they weren't talking to me first when I spoke to them for a few laps and there was no response. And that was it. So under those circumstances, I just had to be very careful and not go down through the gears, just stay at fourth. In the pit stop, I was very worried that having to obviously come to first gear, otherwise there's no way you could pull away. But thankfully it managed to come out, and I guess under those circumstances, 6 points is good.
We didn't expect to finish fourth and fifth. It gives us 5 points. It's a little bit of a bonus because there was a lot of concern about our reliability, and I think we made big headways at Silverstone last week, and today sort of proved that.
Maybe being a bit too pessimistic because the car doesn't feel that fantastic, but when I look at the times and I look at the fuel we had on compared to the people I was running with, we actually were bloody quick. So I was just pushing really hard because I thought we were slow. So I was just pushing like hell, and to be honest, I wasn't slow at all. So I'm learning, you know, it's a very different situation being a Ferrari where you know you're always going to be quick in a race, and you know if someone's a little bit quicker, they've less fuel, they're doing a two-stop here. They were quicker than me marginally, so I thought maybe they're on a one-stop like me. So I was just pushing like hell, and to be honest, it was impossible to stay with them, and I just made the mistake.
Jensen, well done, your first Grand Prix finish.
Yeah, I wish it was a bit better than it actually was in the end, but I made a terrible first lap, terrible start. But yeah, it's good to finish the race, but just out of the points, which is a bit of a shame. I look forward to come to Imola now for all my tifosis and do the same job as last year, hopefully, but I cannot promise it. I mean, don't expect too much. Now we have 20 points lead, and we will try our best, but McLaren is very strong, as we have seen today, so it will be not an easy situation for us.
And so that means full marks, 20 out of 20 for Schumacher, a three-way tie, 14 points behind Barrichello, Coulthard and Fisichella, then Ralf Schumacher, followed by Villeneuve and Frentzen. Ferrari, the champions, with a massive 20-point lead in the constructors, followed by McLaren and Benetton, 5 apiece for Williams and Jordan, and BAR on the board as well. Right, let's discuss the race with Martin Brundle and Tony Jardine. Martin, right from the start, Ferrari threw down the gauntlet here.
They obviously chose to start the race with a very light car, low fuel load. Michael put it to good use, didn't he? Quick off the line, already passing David Coulthard down to turn one and having a pretty serious go at Häkkinen. Häkkinen blocking him violently there, which he's entitled to do. But already the scene was set. And of course, Michael, especially climbing the hill later on in the lap with that much lighter fuel load, was able to take the lead quite quickly, which I think was quite critical to their strategy for the afternoon. Häkkinen once again defending into turn 3 there, and but not for long.
Some very lively strategy, Ferrari, haven't they?
Well, they were having to compromise because they were on the second row of the grid, so you know they chose a clever way of doing that. But of course, as ever, you've got to make it stick. You've got to have the driver that can make it work.
One of the great things about this place, you can overtake, and we saw a real battle between Schumacher and the world champion Mika Häkkinen, and Schumacher finally got past him.
Well, Michael has said many times since the end of the race, hey, this was great. To be overtaking for the lead of a Grand Prix is actually quite unusual for me these days. And he said that so many times that in interviews I've seen subsequent to the race.
Same thing coming up again.
And yes, look, here it comes again, a different angle, but Michael really good track position, later on the brakes, quite submissive there from Mika in many ways. But this was Barrichello taking Coulthard. Now Coulthard, we know by this stage had already lost the use of first, second and third gears. So he was coming out of the last corner in fourth and slow initially up the hill. So I think it was actually easy meat there for Barrichello.
He did a great job here today, Coulthard, and so did Rubens Barrichello, until unusually his Ferrari gave up and he got past Häkkinen as well, and everybody round into Lagos absolutely loved it, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I mean, once again, Rubens got a good run up the hill. Really, he was so far ahead when he arrived into the first corner braking zone. Look, there's the crowd enjoying themselves, but he was able to take a sort of a reasonable, normal line through the corner. That's the kind of speed advantage he had. Low fuel, good tow in the slipstream of Häkkinen. They pop out the other side of the bridge there, and this is an onboard view of it. Cars bouncing up and down, look, and Rubens up the inside. And you can brake desperately late into that last corner, the first corner rather. It's thrilling to go in there in a Formula 1 car.
Shame for him, Tony. He must have thought it was going to be his day, Barrichello, and then his Ferrari let go in front of his home fans.
Yeah, great shame for the local here, and we're not used to seeing Ferrari engines blowing up. Eddie Irvine's blew up at San Marino last year. This is bad news, this, and lot of groans from the crowd as well as it's spluttering along there with the engine going. Paolo Martinelli at that time, the man responsible for the engine building at Ferrari, would have checked all his screens then to make sure that Michael Schumacher's engine was still on song and nothing was going wrong with it. And ignominy after this as well, because there was a flame out at the back of the car and they had to extinguish the flames. There we are. But at least Barrichello has fulfilled his dreams of driving a Ferrari in front of his home crowd. He's dreamt of that since he was 8.
Very unusual. Mika Häkkinen stormed out of this place, didn't say a word really to anybody. He's very upset after what happened to his McLaren.
I think he's very upset because of all the winter testing that they've done. They decided to go to make this car reliable and as fast as possible. The engine is smaller, it's lighter in the Mercedes. There is a question mark. Is it more powerful than last year's or not? We understand, we haven't got it confirmed, but falling oil pressure in that car. No points for Mika Häkkinen. A quick wave to the crowd who'd been hurling abuse and coins at him anyway, and he disappeared, and Louise was legging it after him and didn't even get an interview.
Absolutely no point either for Jenson Button, but another big tick for the exciting 20-year-old, just outside the points in 7th place in the Williams. A good showing.
Well, Martin's mate Gerhard Berger says about composure in the cockpit, coping with traffic, dealing with things like this in only his 2nd ever Grand Prix. But again, Martin, I was saying just before the program, Martin said, well, look, you don't often get away with that, especially with someone like Verstappen putting his wheel inside there. And that is for 7th place towards the end of a race. But getting away with it, and Jenson Button gets a tick, I think, from both of us.
Quick final word from you, Martin.
Ferrari looking very strong. I think it wouldn't have been such a walkover if Häkkinen had a clean run and Coulthard didn't have his problem. So we're still in for an exciting charge at the front end.
Europe, here we come, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. Build more grandstands in San Marino and get through the red flags. All the tomato growers will be there.
And so here's your complete Interlagos rundown. Victory and the fastest lap for Michael Schumacher. Fine effort from Coulthard, McLaren's only point so far. Fisichella on the podium for Benetton. Dad-to-be Frentzen and Trulli, 4 and 5 for Jordan, and another point for the younger Schumacher. A lap adrift, Jenson Button in the 2nd Williams, very encouraging that. Verstappen 8th in the Orange Arrows, followed by teammate De La Rosa. Zonta, the only Brazilian to finish, 10th for BAR. Mazzacani, the last official finisher for Minardi. Johnny Herbert's gearbox went in the Jaguar. Genet had engine failure. Häkkinen's McLaren had an oil pressure problem. Barrichello's hydraulics failed. Irvine blamed himself for spinning off. Gearbox trouble for Villeneuve. Electrics went in Alesi's Prost. Teammate Heidfeld had engine failure, and Wirtz departed early for the same reason. The Saubers withdrew before the start. A reminder, another chance to see this show, ITV2, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And in a couple of weeks' time, we're with those old tomato growers in Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix, live qualifying on the Saturday from 11:30 in the morning, and the race live from 12:15 on the Sunday. So then Michael Schumacher and Ferrari have hit the ground running. As we head for Italy, they won't be short of support there. Good night to you all.
Go! Nice one, Häkkinen. Michael Schumacher attacks and gets through.
Tonight, the official result of the Brazilian Grand Prix was still subject to some further inspection of car number 2, David Coulthard's McLaren, which crossed the line in 2nd place.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by F1 Racing Magazine is www.itv-f1.com.